Our team, so we're back, of course, talking about some Final Fantasy VII. We're talking Remake. We're also talking Final Fantasy 16. We're talking Xbox, which is not a topic I plan on revisiting for. I know we recently talked about 14 coming to Xbox, and I think within that video we did talk a bit about like Remake and 16 and stuff like that. But as a dedicated video, wasn't planning on doing this. But the thing is, generally with my channel, I know what I'm going to make a video on for that day or whatever. But I'll often get on like social media and stuff and just look stuff up just to see if there's anything else more interesting to talk about before we get to that video. Just happened to come across a bunch of articles talking about Phil Spencer doing an interview with IGN, and IGN just straight up asked him, like, is Final Fantasy 16 ever coming to Xbox? Obviously, he gives a bit of a vague answer, because if he didn't, if he confirmed that shit, you guys would have already probably seen this, right? There'd already be articles everywhere, Remake, 16 coming to Xbox eventually, that type of shit, right? But I do think the interview is still interesting and worth discussing, because Phil Spencer does talk more about Square Enix's commitment to the Xbox brand going forward, which I think is important, because I've said this on the channel a lot over the years, that I'm just not a fan of exclusives. I get it, I understand it, I just wish everybody could just play games and shit. But also, as I've said in the past on this channel, I'm not a big fan of like the Final Fantasy series, like kind of hopping back to being exclusive, because initially it was for like several years, right? Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. 11 was on PlayStation, but it did eventually come to like Xbox 360, and now you have like 14. It's been like a decade plus, but it is coming to Xbox finally. But you look back at like the previous number of releases, like 13. 13 was initially exclusive to PlayStation in Japan only. When the worldwide release happened, it came to 360 and PS3. And then 15. 15 obviously launched on PS4, Xbox One, and then later on, like 2 years later or some shit, eventually came to PC. And then you get to Remake, and like randomly we're hopping back to it being exclusive. There's also other stuff like World of Final Fantasy and Zodiac Age and things like that eventually came to Xbox but were exclusive for a little while. We're not breath here, it's a long ass take. But then you have like 16 as well, the next numbered entry, PS5 exclusive. And again, I'm just not really a fan of that, because it's a little jarring, right? If you played Final Fantasy 15, whether you liked it or didn't like it, doesn't matter. It came out on kind of everything, right? And then you get to like the next numbered entry, and like if you don't have a PS5, which are, you know, still kind of hard for people to get, it's just like it sucks. And like I still think at the very least, they should launch on, you know, PlayStation and PC. Like the fact that you have to like wait a year plus or something for the PC release of these games is just kind of annoying. So as usual, we're just going to read over the shit and talk about it. Final Fantasy XIV Fan Fest 2023 game director Naoki Yoshida welcomed Xbox boss Phil Spencer onto the stage alongside Square Enix boss Takashi Kiryu to celebrate the announcement that Final Fantasy XIV is finally on its way to Xbox consoles after years of PlayStation console exclusivity. And it sounded like Microsoft had ensured even more Square Enix games will end up on Xbox in the coming years. But does that mean that PlayStation exclusive Final Fantasy VII Remake and the recently released Final Fantasy 16 will end up on Xbox? That's exactly what IGN asked Xbox boss Phil Spencer in an interview at Gamescom 2023. His answer teased deals are currently being worked on, although Spencer stopped short of announcing Final Fantasy VII Remake and 16 for Microsoft's platform. I recognize that when people buy an Xbox, they want to make sure the great games that they want to play are coming, Spencer said. If there's any publisher out there where that hasn't been true, Square's one of the top. Sarah Bond and I fly to Tokyo and have conversations. We spend a lot of time with Square. There's obviously business deals and relationships that will have to get worked through on certain games. He further goes on to say, but I'll say it was really great to have the CEO of Square and Yoshi there to talk about their commitment to Xbox, because I can say, like, I'm the head of Xbox, blah, 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 but having the CEO of one of the third parties make a commitment to the platform, I thought that was a really meaningful step. So hear more, I'm not going to push them. They're going to have to find their own rhythm, but having them make a commitment to Xbox is really important both to me, and I've heard it from the community, to the community as well. And 14 was more of a commitment. So again, obviously it is a bit of a vague answer because he can't confirm it, even if, like, let's say it is going to happen. Eventually Remake, eventually 16 are coming to Xbox. He can't just fucking say that in this random-ass IGN interview, especially, like, right after 16 launches. So regardless of whatever, he's got to give a vague answer here. But we've talked about this before, right? We've talked a lot about Remake and shit coming to Xbox. For the most part of the channel, I've always said it'll probably happen eventually. Now, when that happens, I don't know, because again, 14's decade plus old or some shit. It's like a long time to get here. Yoshi P is like, that's why I love Yoshi P, because he's the one pushing for this shit, right? He's the one that wanted 14 to come to Xbox. He was talking about that like at least a couple years ago. We've been talking about that off and on the channel for a while, and that's always been my example. We talk about, like, you know, it's been a couple years since Remake launched, obviously, and it's not on Xbox yet, but like 14, they've been trying to do that for, I think, longer than the fucking Remake's even been out, right? Like, they've been pushing for that for a long time. 2018, 2019, something along those lines. And eventually it happened. And going forward, Yoshi P and obviously the CEO of Square Enix want to commit more to the Xbox brand, which is what I fucking love, because Yoshi P wants everybody to play the goddamn games, because that obviously makes the most sense. I've always used 14 as an example because we knew it was coming to Xbox inevitably. It's just a matter of when. And if 14 of all the exclusive Final Fantasy games can make it to Xbox, and everything's on the table. Everything's a possibility, right? Because it's been exclusive for so damn long. They give another 5 or 10 years. You know, we talked about, you know, like the remake trilogy might not hit Xbox until it's done. Like it might be that long, and maybe that happens, and that would suck. But eventually, it would come to Xbox, which means I would have always been right, sort of. I know every time we talk about this, there's people that are like, dude, give it up. It's never going to happen. You got to move past it. And it's like, you're just some person on the internet who thinks they know what they're talking about. The fucking CEO, let me repeat that, of Square Enix is committing to the Xbox brand going forward. So it's what that guy wants, what he decides ultimately, kind of, right? Like, what does he want to do? Does he want to bring like these older games that are exclusive to the Xbox platform, or is it going forward the franchise no longer going to be exclusive to PlayStation? That, of course, remains to be seen, right? And as Phil Spencer said, when it comes to like specific games, there has to be relationships and business deals made. And I'm assuming in that sense he's talking about like Remake and 16. I don't even know. I mean, that's the only Final Fantasy games I can think of right now. I mean, is the Pixel Remasters on Xbox? I don't know. Like, I don't keep up with all that shit. Like Forspoken's, PlayStation exclusive. I don't know what other Square Enix games are PlayStation exclusive off the top of my head. But at least with the Final Fantasy franchise, that's Remake, that's 16 that he might be alluding to. But at the very least, hopefully going forward, the franchise is no longer exclusive. That might mean that since they're committing to the Xbox brand, maybe like at least like a Final Fantasy 17 in the future would come to Xbox as well, because that's how it should be. And then like again, every time we talk about the exclusivity shit, I bring up like Crisis Core Union, because that's what's weird. It's like that is a pivotal part of the FF7 story, this remaster prequel for Final Fantasy 7. And it came out on goddamn everything, right? Every single platform possible. But like Remake itself, which that's kind of supposed to be attached to, is like only PlayStation and PC, of course, but like initially only PlayStation. It's like, why are you putting Reunion on Xbox and Nintendo Switch of all things when like they don't have any of the remake shit? The obvious answer is money, right? Because if they dropped Reunion and it was only on like PS4, PS5, it'd probably still sell well. But how much would it actually sell overall? That's why they wanted to put it on every platform possible to try to make the most money from it. Because it's like that's a perfect example. I don't know how much it sold altogether or whatever the fuck. I don't remember. Probably got that in like a financial report or something. But like obviously you launch on everything to make the most money possible. And it's like, well, what a bright idea. Let's do that with all the games. God damn it. Fucking stupid. And all kind of comes down to, of course, what we talked about a lot on the channel is like how much like Sony would be paying Square Enix for their games to be exclusive, and like who knows what that amount is. I don't know if that's something we'll ever actually know, or maybe like they pay them a certain amount for exclusivity, and then for like the exclusivity period they make like a shit ton of the money. Like, because obviously if you buy something on like PSN, like Sony's gonna get some of it, and then Square Enix is gonna get some of it. I don't know what the cut is exactly, but maybe doing the exclusivity they get like a higher cut. Maybe that's why they want to do that shit. I don't know, but obviously it comes down to the money being paid for the exclusivity rights versus what they would actually make if the game came out on Xbox at launch and also PC at launch and things like that. But I just feel like overall, generally speaking, unless they're just cutting you a fat-ass fucking check, you just make more money if the game launched on everything. That's more or less a video, my dudes. I'm kind of ranting to this point, stuff we've talked about over the years on this channel already. It's something I get a little heated, a little passionate about. I just want everybody to be able to play video games, man. But to be fair, when it comes to the discussion of exclusivity, and I've said this a lot on the channel, like if Remake wasn't on PS4, I probably would have maybe never got a PS4, or at least wouldn't have potentially got one in 2020. But because of buying that console to play Final Fantasy VII Remake to also cover on the YouTube channel, which is a big part of why I bought it, I've got to play obviously fantastic exclusive games on the PlayStation platform, which I always knew they had fantastic games, but I never cared enough to like buy a PS4. I was just on Xbox. The boys were on Xbox. Most of the games I played come out on every single platform, like Call of Duty and things like that back then. Because of the Remake exclusivity, it did get me into the PlayStation brand, which is kind of what I exclusively game on now. Like I have an Xbox Series S right here. I pointed at this thing a few times in videos. It's kind of just there. I did play Fortnite on it for a while with the boys, just because they were also on Xbox. We could party chat with each other and not have to use like the in-game chat stuff. But I've kind of moved over to the PS5 now. So I'm playing on my goddamn Fortnite one whenever I play that with the boys. And I kind of don't use this fucking thing anymore. So ultimately, the exclusivity for FF7 Remake pushed me onto a better platform. Anyways, we need to wrap it up, because I keep going on and on with the I keep recording shit. And I'm like, I gotta fucking stop. I gotta like wrap the video up here, man. Is Remake and 16 eventually coming to Xbox? Is that confirmed? No, of course not. But maybe eventually. They're committing to Xbox brand. The new CEO, I can't remember the last guy's name. We used to talk about him a lot. I forget his name right now. But at least the new CEO for Square Enix like seems to be committed to the Xbox platform going forward, and maybe that means 17 and other like spin-off like Final Fantasy games, whatever those might be, like a Stranger in Paradise kind of thing. If they do more of those, hopefully those kinds of games will also come to Xbox. And obviously Phil Spencer seems to be very passionate about Square Enix, right? The fact that he's like there for like the 14 reveal, and like him and I can't remember that woman's name we talked about earlier, but like they're flying to Tokyo to have like these meetings with Square Enix and shit. Like it seems like going forward there's gonna be a good Xbox relationship, which is good for everybody. Like when games are on everything and everybody can play them and all that shit, that's good. It's good for everybody. I don't know this tribalism of like my game's on PlayStation, it need not come to other platform. Like shut the fuck up, man. Just let people enjoy things. I don't know what it is, my dudes, but the energy's a bit different today. We're kind of all over the place. Let's wrap this damn video up finally. That's the video. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Snorks in the description below. Follow me on Twitter, @FF7 That's it. Bye.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Logain, or leave it like Cobain.